Welcome to First Dates and Soulmates, and today it's time for our gay little book club. I'm Nikki McKnight.
And I'm Nikki Clark.
And on today's episode, I could not decide on a book to discuss because I had so many new releases that I was enjoying. And Meg said, we could just call it Nikki's Book Corner, to which I responded, my gay little book club. So welcome. Today we're going to be discussing some new releases, some first-time reads for Meg, and just kind of getting y'all caught up on the fun little stuff that we are reading.
Especially because so often we'll say like, okay, we're going to talk about this trope, and then Meg's going to pick a book, and I pick an MF, and I have to like sort of pull you out of the MM world. But I very rarely do I let myself be pulled into MM for you. That's not true. We did a couple for like Secret Royalty. We did a couple there. But I specifically said to you, what are you reading right now that's MM? Because I want to read a bit more MM this summer. And so this is all MM that we're going to be discussing.
It's true. So we've got a couple books for you. So some of the books we're going to be discussing today are Bull's Boy by Kiki Clark, which is a spinoff from her Leather and Chrome series, which I also really enjoy. We're going to be talking about The Allure of Ruins by Mary Collins. We've got Rocket Science by K.M. Neuhold, and we've got The Wedding Bet by Raleigh Ruebins. So couple new releases, couple new first reads. Where do we even want to dive in? Let's talk about Bull's Boy.
Let's talk about Bull's Boy.
This is a new release. Again, Kiki Clark, the Leather and Chrome series. Meg, have you read any of the Leather and Chrome series, or have you read any Kiki Clark?
This is my first Kiki Clark.
Oh, okay. What were your overall thoughts?
So I am not usually a motorcycle club person, so I maybe wouldn't have picked up the Leather and Chrome series, but this is sort of like adjacent. It's in the universe, but it's not a specific piece of that series.
Bull's brother is in the motorcycle club. He's their roadmaster or whatever they call it.
Yeah, so nobody who's neither of the protagonists, neither of the love interests in this book were in the motorcycle club, but they did go to the motorcycle club. So I have this feeling that there's some fan favorites who made appearances and were able to befriend people, but it wasn't like so heavy-handed that I was like, oh, I don't know these people.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with the Leather and Chrome series is, yes, they're in a motorcycle club, but it's not like a criminal motorcycle club. Like they get together, they hang out, they they go rescue people who are victims of domestic violence. That's how Six and Ollie actually meet, because Ollie's roommate gets attacked by her ex-boyfriend, and they had a card that says like call the plumbers. It's actually the motorcycle club, and they come rescue victims of domestic violence. So it's not a criminal motorcycle club. It is, there's some weird shit they do get up to that might not be fully legal, but it's not like they're not gun running. Are some people in prison? Yes. Like that's how CJ and Tank meet in the very first book, and they make cameos in this one that Tank was in prison because he was in a bad motorcycle club and he wanted to get out of it, and shit happened. He went to this one. So I like it because it's not super like criminal motorcycle gang, because that's not quite my vibe, but I do like her Leather and Chrome series. It is also a kinky series, both in this one and in the previous ones. There's daddy boy stuff, there's BDSM stuff, there's voyeurism, there's public sex. Ollie likes to dress way more femme, and he likes to wear really short skirts around the motorcycle club where you can see a lot of stuff. He and Six have public sex a lot. So there's definitely that vibe. And in Bull's Boy, like you can guess from the title, Bull's a big guy. Bull's a very big guy.
Big guy.
Yeah. And
the nickname Bull does not come because of his shoulder girth.
It's true. So it is interesting to me. So in this book, we have Bull and Malcolm, and Bull runs the family like restaurant, pub, bar type thing. And his brother Marv is in the MC. So Bull's always been like adjacent to it. He knows the guys, they come in, they hang out. And Malcolm is his employee. He works as like a server at this place. And Malcolm is a little bit down on his luck. He is quite poor, doesn't have a lot of money. His family sucks. His older brother is a dick. And he's just been broken up with again by a woman. Part of it is because like he's too short. She's a short king.
Like 5'5".
I don't know. I couldn't remember if they ever explicitly stated how tall he was. And again, I can't visualize shit. So I'm like, how short is this guy that women are like, oh my God, you're too short? Like, I don't get it. I really don't. This whole like, oh man.
You're also like 5'2".
I'm 5'1".
So everyone is tall to you?
It's true. I am 5'1" and like a half. Thank you. Yeah, so
As
like
a 5'9" girl, I feel like I have to represent for the tall women.
there you go. So anyway, like Malcolm is going through a lot of emotional shit. Bull has always had a little bit of a crush on him, but like knows he's quote unquote straight. And one day, you know, he kind of overhears that Malcolm's just having a real rough time. So he's like, hey, I'm going to this party at the motorcycle clubhouse. Do you just want to come? Like, it's just a party. Like, come meet people. And then, what do you know? Malcolm may not be as straight as he may have originally thought he was.
He sees some of the public sex happening, and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is interesting. I am having a reaction to this.
Yeah. Interesting how that goes. And it's funny because the motorcycle club president, Thomas, he is in a poly relationship with two guys that, again, you meet in a previous book. And Rooster and Emmett are also in the club. And so I liked seeing all the characters come back. But one of the things that you also know from the previous series is, I think it's 6 that started it. They also have like BDSM nights where they get like a dom from a local club to come and like almost like give lessons and facilitate and make sure people are safe. And that is this reputation that now Bull's mom is like, I hear you guys have a sex club. And he's like, Mom, like, we don't talk about this. So obviously Bull and Malcolm get together. There is a lot of dirty talk. There is size difference. There are piercings and a little bit of bi awakening, which I really enjoy. This was a hot book, like a lot, because I do like the dirty talk. I do have a good time with that. I was like, yes, thank you, Kiki.
You gave me a list of 3 books that you were going to be reading based on new release schedules, and I think it was just new release schedules. It wasn't like, let's talk about this theme, let's talk about this trope.
Just new releases.
And just new releases. For you had already read all these series and knew these authors well, so you knew that you were going to read it. And as I was reading the covers of them, I was like, you know, Nikki, during our Tingly Awards,
yes,
when we were talking about our favorite books from last year and what were the most common tropes that we read and things like that, you were like, I read a lot of age gap. I read a lot of kink.
Yep.
And like, we haven't really read that on the pod.
No, we really haven't. This is kind of the first one that explicitly has it, I think.
And there are other books you've recommended to me because I'm like, I am low on books, or I want something that has this kink or something, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
And you've recommended it to me, so I've read them from your recommendations, but we have not discussed them on the pod. So that was appealing to me to sort of go, okay, what is it about Daddy Boy? Or what is it about age gap? Not specifically for you, but like what's desirable about that? But also, Nikki, you sent me 3 books and 2 of them were Boss Employee.
Were they? Oh, yeah, I guess this is Boss Employee.
This is Boss Employee.
Yeah.
And The Allure of Ruin was also Boss Employee. And I was like, Nikki McKnight.
This is so weird because you're totally right. Because I'm thinking about why did I not mind it here? And maybe it's...
The reason I'm going to make a guess, which is that the minute that Bull said, you know, Malcolm said to him, are you attracted to me? And Bull was like, I don't want to make things weird at work.
Yeah.
Like, he was taking himself off the shifts with Malcolm. He was trying his best to be respectful of it. He always wanted to make sure that Malcolm never felt uncomfortable because he knew that he was in a position of power. He knew that Malcolm was a little bit down on his luck financially. And Bull thought that Malcolm was straight. So he thought that it was this unrequited crush. And therefore, he definitely didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable if nothing was going to happen. And then by the time they realize that there's this mutual attraction, Malcolm is the one who makes the move.
Yeah, and I think that is something that I do like. Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, as I'm thinking through this right now, like the part of Boss Employee I really don't like, it seems to only really hit me when it's like a big company. And and the reporting is a lot more strict because it's a 9 to 5. You're with them every day. Like this one, they work at a restaurant. A restaurant is like a very different vibe in terms of shifts. Like you're not in a cubicle 9 to 5 or an office, which is like a little bit different. I don't remember specifically the other books, but I think that's part of it. But I also think, to your point, yeah, from the very beginning, Bull was like, I realize that this could be uncomfortable. And I don't want to be that guy, because Bull, for all of his huge size in many ways, is a really good, gentle dude, except for in the bedroom. And then he's great.
Yes.
But I think that's probably why it doesn't bother me as much, because I know that it's not a bad situation. But also the risk of people finding out is not bad in this, because that's the other thing that I hate is like when secrets come out and like what's going to happen next. because if people find out about Bull and Malcolm, they're gonna tease them, but it's not like, oh, job is at risk or something is at risk or this could ruin careers, versus in a traditional workplace there is that risk, that there's lawsuits and there's HR, and maybe that's the other part of it that I don't love, is that potential to come up, which that's not going to happen here.
I think for me, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I think one of the things that I struggle with boss employee is when the boss uses their power to get the employee to behave in a certain way, and either is threatening their job or coercing them in some way to behave a certain way, or like there's some sort of office bet, or I'm your boss and I need you to be my fake date to this thing, and they don't feel like they can say no because they feel like they have to go along with what their boss wanted. There was a book that was like so super popular on Reddit maybe 6 months ago called The Deal with the Bossy Devil by Kyra Parsi.
Oh, okay.
And people fucking loved it. They thought it was hysterical. And I couldn't get through the first 20% because the boss was such a boss hole. He was impossible. He threatened her job.
No.
She tried to quit and she had to come back because like her sister was going to lose her health insurance because of it.
Don't love
and then
that.
he made her work these weird hours and people thought the banter was worth it. And I was like, ugh, it just makes me squicky. It just makes me squicky when there's a power dynamic where somebody is using their power to make someone else behave a certain way that is non-consensual. And not in a like consensual, non-consensual way, in a like I'm going to make you do these behaviors, even if they're not sexual. It's like it's a power dynamic that's uncomfortable. And Bull never did that.
No, and I think that's what I do like about like this age gap daddy stuff that comes into it, because honestly, it is a genre that I really like for the most part. And I think part of it, we talked actually about this with Billionaire, it's the caretaking aspect of it. Like, oh, I don't have to worry about things. Oh, isn't that nice? I would love.
Oh, you're going to come over to my house and just replace the lights.
Yeah, you're gonna switch light bulbs.
Just replace the light bulbs.
You're gonna like fix shit around my house, and you're gonna just like, I don't have to think about what I have to do next. You're just gonna tell me what to do. Oh my god, Meg, it's glorious.
You're gonna put together the cat tower, and I'm gonna say, "Do you want me to hold that screw?" And you're going, "No, babe, just lay down and relax."
And you're like, "Thank you so much." Also,
who doesn't
Bull
want
with his
that?
cats, these like outdoor wild cats that he rescued, and he named them after the Golden Girls, even though one of them eventually turned out to be a boy. And he's like, "No, it's still gonna be."
It's still Blanche.
It's still Blanche. Who are we gonna call? Stanley, like the ex-husband? No, still Blanche. No, he was really. I really did like how they, like. I loved Bull, because he very much was that gentle giant. He is like a little shy, like being around the motorcycle club people. It makes him uncomfortable, but not in like a judgy way. He's just like, whoa, this is a lot. This is a lot. I don't know can I look there? Can I not look there? And people are always saying like, hey, like your like legacy, you should be involved in this motorcycle club. He's like, I just don't like motorcycles. Like motorcycles just aren't my vibe. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this. But then when you get him with Malcolm, and Malcolm is spiraling, because again, his brother is a horrible piece of trash human who does not deserve happiness. And he doesn't get it, which is great. But Bull sees that and he's just like, I noticed that he wasn't eating, so I changed the policy at work that everybody gets a free meal because I noticed he's not eating. And he does this just because he's a good human, that even if it wasn't Malcolm suffering, he would have done this for anybody that works for him. And then I don't remember, it happens early on. I think it's when they're at the party and Malcolm realizes that he's never really talked to Bull. Like, really. He just sees him as like he's like kind of grumpy, but Bull's actually not that grumpy. He just has like a resting grumpy face. So
No,
Malcolm's kind of like, oh, this guy's kind of nice and cool.
Yeah, but Bull picks up Malcolm when Malcolm is shopping with his brother, and his brother's being a dick and being like, maybe we can't have a destination wedding because you can't afford it because you're poor. Yeah. And then Bull comes by, and then Bull drives him home. Yeah. And so it's in that car ride after that little savior moment that. And I think also this is something where, like, the daddy trope works, but if it were real life, I'd be like, stop stepping in to save him every time. Like, stand at his back and let him fight his own battles, fine. But, like,
I did
it's very, like, touch her and die.
Yeah.
When we were talking about last episode, touch her and die. It's definitely had some of those vibes.
But I think Bull did enough of that, but also knowing when Malcolm wouldn't do it. Because, like, when they do go to the brother's wedding, because the deal is, like, Malcolm's brother is older. He's getting married, and he's pretty much saying, like, you have to show up because it'll make me look bad. And if you can't come to a destination wedding, it's because you made stupid career decisions and it's all your fault. You need to figure out how to make this work. So Bull says to him, like, I'll go to the wedding with you. And he's kind of like, okay, I guess I'm going to take my boyfriend to the wedding. And of course, the brother is immediately like, you're an asshole. What are you doing this? Like, you're a horrible human. You fucked up on and on and on. And then Bull just kind of looks at him. And he does step in. But what I liked even more is that the brother's fiance overhears and is like, the fuck what?
The
Done.
wedding is off.
Wedding is off. Throw the ring. Like, you're an asshole.
By the way, this is a gentle trope and standing there menacingly trope, as we talked about last week.
Oh my god, this is the standing here menacingly. This is where I should create this database because Bull just gets to stand there menacingly.
That's all he needs to do because he's like 6'6", I think.
Yeah, he's big dude, and he's packing double-digit inches in the pants because Ollie and CJ and the subgroup, as they call them from the original series, are very interested in. Where does the name come from? Like, is it proportionate? And at first, Malcolm's like, I don't know. I've never seen it. Like, why are you asking me?
We're
and then
just
eventually
friends.
He's like, yeah, I did see it later that night after you asked me. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you how big, but yeah, it's good. Yeah. I really like, I think Kiki Clark writes sex really well. Like, I love her dirty talk. Like, she's so good at it. I don't know if you downloaded the bonus epilogue like I did.
Never.
I always get the bonus epilogues from BookFunnel afterwards, and it was just pure smut. And I was like, "This is great. This is great."
I think I read that it was like when they move into their house and they get a new cat, and I'm like, this is just like, she hits this really interesting space of very sweet and also very dirty.
And that's all of her books. Honestly, it's the same thing with like the original Leather and Chrome. Like when Tank and CJ, who are book one, again, Tank is in prison, and I don't remember how
they're pen pals, right?
They're pen pals, and I think it's because of a prison pen pal program. I think that's how it starts, and then eventually through their letters, they kind of start saying, he's like, yes, like CJ's like, I do want a daddy. This is what I'm into, and Tank is like, I'm so into that. And they start talking, and they start sending each other like tokens back and forth, so that when Tank does get out of prison, he doesn't tell CJ that he's out. He wants to like surprise him, so he shows up at the diner where CJ's working, and then he realizes, I didn't have a camera in prison. I couldn't send him a photo. He has no fucking clue what I look like. So there's like a little like awkward moment when I think it's CJ leaves work and kind of Tank goes after them, and CJ originally gets like really freaked out, like, who the fuck is following me? He goes, hi, it's me, Tank. And he's like, oh, okay, this is fine then. Like, so there is that kind of like, yeah, like there's the gentle, like nice, sweet, but given the opportunity, this is going to get real dirty real quick. And it's like, we like it. It's fun.
You're like bouncing in your chair.
Also, he's got piercings, which I'm into. I always think
just nipple piercings, though. I think it's interesting. You would think with a 10-inch cock that he would have a piercing there too.
Yeah, but, another book I read. Oh, I think it was the other book I talked about that we didn't end up reading. It was the Amy Padilla of Pranks and Passion. I'm pretty sure he has a Jacob's Ladder piercing on his penis, which features very prominently in that book. So if you like, piercings,
I just read one of those too.
There you
go.
go.
It was a hockey romance, but it was MF.
Yeah. But I do like it. I just think there's something so interesting about a big like daddy type with nipple piercings. I don't know. It feels like not
furry,
the
like a bear.
Yeah, it almost feels like not the piercings that they should have. I think they should have a dick piercing, but I do like a good nipple piercing.
I'm so glad.
Thumbs up.
All right, so it was interesting that you chose this one because before you gave me this list of the books that you're going to read, I said to you, okay, I'm starting to plot out a book for Connor. I want it to be a Christmas winter theme time period, and I want there to be like a fake wedding date or maybe like a wedding part. Can you think of any wedding winter books? And you sent to me, you said you should read The Wedding by Raleigh Ruebins, and I loved everything about it except the bet part.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so the setup is that Jamie's older brother is getting married, and they do a destination wedding to Colorado. So Jamie's usually in LA. He grew up in kind of between LA and San Diego, and he's struggling financially. So I felt like this was a good place to start from going from Ball's Boy into the wedding bet, because both of them are really, like they're both working at diners, which is a fun tie-in. And both of them are like, I am in a shitty apartment.
Yep.
have to get my tips in order to pay for my gas, like that level of financial insecurity. And so Jamie saves up. He takes his mom. They go to this wedding in the Rocky Mountains, and he meets Landry in the elevator. And they just hit it off instantly. And Landry's ex-boyfriend is there. I'm going to say it's Parker. Okay. And Parker said no to Landry's engagement proposal, and now he's already engaged like 6 months later. And so Jamie is like, I will be your fake boyfriend to make Parker jealous, and I bet you that by the end of the week he will try to get back with you, and if you win, then I'll have sex with you. Which I never love when sex is like a bet instead of a consensual choice.
It's weird.
It's a little weird when it happens, but then the bet was never closed. It was like, if you win, I'll have sex with you. And then that night he's like, I'll just have sex with you. And so it was never actually a bet. It was called the wedding bet, but the bet itself was the weakest part of the plot. But everything else in the book I really liked. The way that Landry was financially successful. And so he was like, oh, I'll just buy you all these beers so that way we can go out and get drinks. And Jamie was like, I don't want your money. I don't want that to be what this relationship is based on. So Landry had to really rethink about, what does he want his relationship to be like? What does an equal partnership look like? And it ties into our love on vacation trope, you know, because it's like they both are at this destination wedding, but they're both going to go back to reality. And Landry has 2 homes. He has one in Denver and one in LA. And Jamie lives an hour south of LA. So they're not entirely distant from each other, but it's still an hour and a half long distance relationship when they do get back to LA. So they have this love on vacation, which was not something we talked about when I asked you for this recommendation. But then they went back to reality, and you got to see the reality, especially Jamie's life sort of fell apart at that moment. His mom slipped and fell, and he was, you know, had some medical bills that he had to deal with. And so dealing with these financial class differentials was also part of it, and they had to find a way to be in this equal partnership. And so I really loved that. So I liked everything about the wedding bet except the bet.
Yeah, I think there's something that I really like, and I was thinking about this because, again, it's in Bull's Boy, it's in the wedding bet. This idea where one of the main characters is in very tight financial straits. Like they're not gonna like lose their house tomorrow, but it's tough. Like they're very much living paycheck to paycheck, tips to tips. And the other book it made me think of was Jane and Edward by Melody Edwards, which is a retelling of Jane Eyre, done in Toronto modern. I met the author about 2 years ago when I went to the signing for her second book, which was set in Niagara-on-the-Lake, which is where I currently live. And that
is that the one that you went to that signing and then you Voxered me and you were like, I just want to talk to authors. I want to talk about books all the time. And I was like, we should start a podcast.
Honestly, probably. Yeah, because that's the only signing I've been to recently. But the other thing I really liked about her was the same thing. Like she came from a very poor background. She was all alone. All her family had died. So she had no family support. And she had worked, she worked at a diner. She worked at a restaurant. She was a server. And it was talking about how she worked all these double shifts and how she was very specific with how she managed her money. And she went to a community college or did digital courses to get, I think she was a paralegal or a secretarial certificate, something like that. So she went to work for a big law firm on Bay Street as an assistant and then, kept going from there. And I think it's weird for me to say this. I like when one of the characters is in that situation, not so someone can come in and save them, because I think that's weird. But I like it when a character is so gritty in that way. So then, especially when there is a daddy or caretaker perspective, it's you've done enough. You get to rest a little bit now. And there's something very satisfying to me about that they get to rest in many ways, financially and sexually. I really enjoy it. So I kind of like how that even showed up there, where they're money is a little tight, but there something is going to happen where that doesn't have to be my number one worry anymore. It's not completely fixed. It's right. It's just maybe worry number 2 now. And that in itself is a relief and gives me space to just enjoy what is happening around me.
And I think there's often, if you're in that situation of the financially insecure, you're not thinking about relationships. Oh, no. You're not thinking about love. You are in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're in survival mode.
Exactly.
And so when love it feels like it comes out of nowhere, and it like blindsides you, and you have that reaction of like, I don't have time for this. I can't take you out on dates. I don't have money for this. I need to work. I can't afford to go up and visit you. And it adds an extra level of conflict that feels real.
Yeah, and it's one of the things we talked about in our billionaire romance was this idea that it's, why do we like billionaire? Well, someone who doesn't have to worry about a 9 to 5 or paying bills, they just get to show up in the middle of the day and say, I'm taking you to Spain. Like there's something kind of like escapist and I don't want to say aspirational, but like desirable about that yeah, and that's it's part of what moves a relationship forward is they don't have to worry about that stuff. So by proxy, I no longer have to worry about that stuff right now. It gives me a little bit of like mental freedom to go through it, which I also just like really enjoy. I was like, we should all just be able to go to Spain at the drop of a hat.
And I think also there's something about age gap there too. It's not always related, but there can be that, like, you know, Bull is I think 35 and Malcolm's 22. So it's not an exorbitant age gap, but it is enough that Bull has established himself. He has a house. He's had more time to figure things out. He's finished his degree. He sort of has this established career, even if it's, you know, running the family business. He's been doing it for a longer amount of time. He has a savings account. And with age gap, you can often see that where there's that caretaker role, whether it is a daddy situation or just, you know, let me take care of you. Let me, you know, I'm a bit more financially stable by this age. That's desirable in its own way, aside from the romance piece, is he's not living paycheck to paycheck, and it's not that I want to use him for his money, but I can relax a little bit. I can let things kind of, I don't have to hold everything as tightly.
Yeah, because there's not only like, I'll say the physical and emotional burden of I have to work and I got to figure all this shit out and I got to juggle this, which is in itself exhausting, but there's just like the mental invisible load there, like the invisible labor to just manage that shit. And again, that's why I think like when you have those types of relations, like that's the ideal catharsis, as like, all I get is good shit from this and I don't have to think about any of it. I just get to receive big things. Wink wink, nudge nudge. It's his penis.
I wonder if there is going to be or has been a rise in billionaires, daddies, any sort of caretaking situation as the economy is doing poorly.
That would be an interesting question. Going back to our last week's episode, we should see how the terms have changed a little bit, because I would also wonder, just given the current state of the world, if it went down, because billionaires
it's anti-billionaire
so hard right now in real life that I'm like, has it lost some of like the escapist sheen? Maybe because we're like, oh no, these are probably horrible people outside of this. Like at the time of this recording,
when your choice of billionaire is like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and at the time of this recording, Bezos' wedding was what, like last week, I think. Ugh. And it was just
in Venice, and he just like destroyed Venice.
Oh my God, like that, all the press around that it is kind of hard. That's why I like a hard-working. Like Bull financially is probably middle to upper middle, because like he does own the business, but restaurants, you're never, unless you're Gordon Ramsay, you're not fucking getting rich off a restaurant. Like they are money pits. But like he has nice things. He can afford like little things. So I feel like it's not he's not so wealthy that it kind of feels weird to me right now, just given the gestures broadly, the grand state of things right now. But all
right, yeah, I'm pulling this up on the screen. We'll put a screenshot into the show notes, but here is the interest over the past 5 years of billionaire romance in the United States. It was at a low in 2022. It was also very not popular in 2021, but now it's actually quite high, including like this January. There's been a spike in people looking for billionaire romances. So I am surprised to see this. Also, most popular state for billionaire romances, Mississippi.
Interesting. It's a millionaire romance. That's not enough, because honestly, like millionaire romance, it's like you can't do shit on. You need $1 million just to survive these days.
There's a little bit of daddy romance.
Okay.
But that's much more hit or miss.
Yeah, because I feel like billionaire romance goes across a lot of genres and it can almost be like the secondary trope or within a book, whereas daddy, I would assume, would be more of a number one main theme rather than like an amalgamation category.
Okay, Daddy romance, though, very popular in District of Columbia.
I tell you, it's all
Rhode
those
Island.
government workers. All the government workers are real pent up and just need someone to take care of them and tell them it's going to be okay and then dick them down real good.
Yeah. Oklahoma and Kansas, Idaho, Alabama.
Interesting.
I
like how we did that.
All right. Okay. So we talked age gap for that one. So let's move into rocket science because that also. Oh, actually, all of our books have age gap, don't they? No, Wedding Bet doesn't have age gap. Okay. So since we're talking age gap, let's talk about rocket science because you recommended this on several different podcast episodes. You recommended it for Best Friend's Brother. I think you recommended it for...
There's been another one. It showed up a bit because I do like it.
We might have talked about it during Love Hypothesis because that had that STEM component. And
yes, you're right. I think that's where it is. And Elijah's character is not explicitly on the spectrum, but does have certain behaviors that I think were very similar to Olive. It was Olive in Love Hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
So similar kind of behaviors, awkward, very, very smart. I think Pax, who's the other main character in this book, calls him the nerdlet, as like little nerd. This is the nerdlet. So that's probably when it brought up. I really like this book. I've read it multiple times because I just really enjoy their dynamic. And
I really, what I really liked about this book, I think my favorite part wasn't even the is it brother's best friend or best friend's brother? It's brother's best friend. And so I liked that there was like, Elijah had his sexual awakening to Pax, but Pax didn't know that because it happened when he was a teenager. And it was like, it wasn't even like Elijah was queer or gay. It was like, I am attracted to this man and this man only.
Yeah.
Which I really like when it's like almost like you imprint on somebody early on. But I think the thing that I liked the best was Elijah really he's struggling with social cues. Yeah. Like he's coded autistic and even though Pax is teasing him and calling him nerdlet and calling him Einstein as a joke, when Elijah doesn't understand a social cue, Pax will slow down and be like, oh, here's what I actually meant. This is what I said, but this is what I meant. And really knowing how to read and work with somebody in that space, because at first it's like, can you teach me how to flirt? Can you show me how to do this? Can you show me how to pick people up sort of vibe, which I always love. But then he just doesn't get some of the cues during during like the speed dating event. It was like, he couldn't figure out if the guys actually liked him or not. And Pax is always like, Elijah's adorable. Everyone has a crush on him, but he doesn't see it.
Yeah, I don't think, just a quick log line in case you guys haven't read it. Basically, Elijah, very, very smart. He goes to California. He goes to like Caltech or something. He's very smart.
Caltech.
He's going to work for NASA at some point. And his best friend from back home is Pax's younger brother. So I don't remember the brother's name, but he kind of reaches out to Pax and says, hey, Elijah's moving out there. Could you keep an eye on him? Like help him out? And Pax is like, sure, he's a good kid. Very much sees him as like a small kid. And he's like, come on.
I think it's a 7-year age difference.
Yeah, something similar. But essentially, Pax starts like hanging out with Elijah and realizes they have a really good time. And then they start hooking up and they say it doesn't mean anything. And then eventually they fall in love. Eventually the best friend does find out and is like, oh, well, I actually really liked Elijah this entire time. And a little bit of a kerfuffle there. But Pax is kind of a fuckboy, just a little bit. He's a traveling salesman. So he's like always gone and, redeemed by the power of love. But it is a really nice series. I like the whole series, but I think of the entire series, the book one is my favorite book. I like their dynamic. I like their vibe the best. And I do like kind of, again, it's that nerdy character who needs some help. And then in this way, it's a little bit more instructional. Like, I'm going to help you make friends. I'm going to bring you around my friends. I'm going to bring you to these events because you're everything. You're super cool.
Yeah, their first date, which isn't a date where it's like they just sit down to get a beer and they talk about Star Wars. And Pax is like, wow, I actually really enjoyed this more than I enjoyed going out on dates, more than I enjoyed picking up, people that I didn't connect with. It has that sort of demi connection that happens there.
Yeah, I do like it. I think it's really funny. I think was it? I think it was Drea when we talked to her as Olivia Carter the other week that she did read a lot of K.M. Neuhold books when she was writing Soft Launch because she really liked how Neuhold talks about sex and like how she writes her characters, where even if there's a lot of sex, it very much still moves the plot forward. Like it doesn't seem extraneous or tacked on, like smutty in that way. And I'm not denigrating. I love a good smutty romance.
No,
but
I think that there's a way that if you're writing romance, you can either have in a perfect world, in a romance, every sex scene would carry the plot forward a little bit more. There's a reason that the sex scene should be there in order to either create conflict between the characters, can it create connection between the characters. Like, there's a purpose to every sex scene. And that's true in a lot of romances, but when we were reading Bull's Boy, it wasn't like every single one of them moved the plot. It was just a means of connection, because it was like, oh, well, now we're going to try this thing, or we're going to try this thing, or we're going to have sex here. Or, you know, like, so it was more experimental, and each one of them, they were connecting, but it wasn't necessarily how does the plot change from the beginning of the chapter to the end of the chapter. I didn't see as much in some of these books where sex is more consistent, but the plot is a bit thinner. You know, like, I liked Bull's Boy because it was very low angst. It was very low conflict. But when you have a low conflict, character-driven story that has a lot of sex, it sometimes just feels like a lot of sex. And that's okay.
It's okay.
But Cam Neuhold does a really good job of balancing the internal conflict, the interpersonal conflict, the external conflict, and having the sex be meaningful while still being graphic and well written.
Yeah, all of those things. We do.
It's hard to do all of those things.
We do like
Trust me, it's very hard to do all those things.
I wouldn't know because I don't have to write it. I just get to read it. Delightful. All right, let's move on to our last book for my little gay book club this week.
So I actually think this is a good transition, because in the same way that I think Pax sort of protected Elijah and Bull sort of protected Malcolm, this is an even greater situation for Colton and...
Also named Pax. The other character's Paxton.
You're right. I was like, why am I not remembering this? But yeah, this is Paxton is our single POV protagonist. This is the only one that isn't dual POV that we read this week. And Paxton is deeply traumatized. And it starts from that on page 1. He starts with an explanation of his therapist about how his trauma has impacted the way that he shows up in the workplace. And I almost put this book down at about 10%. And then I powered through, because it was Paxton in the workplace talking about his trauma, naming every single person that he worked with at the law firm, what floor they worked on, who was this person getting a job with. It was like a little bit hard to follow, especially because there wasn't a lot of dialogue. A lot of it was backstory, so it felt like a bit of an info dump. But then once I got into it, I was like, oh no, I actually needed all of that backstory. I was just really surprised that Colton, while they mentioned Colton, did not show up until, like, it was a 150-page book. I don't think he showed up until 30 pages in. Everyone talked about, oh, you work for Colton, and you should try to move up within this law firm because that way you can make more money. And he was like, no, I'm not leaving Colton.
Because Colton just does, like, the pro bono cases. He's not an equity partner.
He's not a name partner, an equity partner. Yeah.
So, like, your rates are always going to be, like, fixed. You're never going to
You're salaried. You don't get commissions.
Yeah. And he's like, no, but I just want to be with Colton because I like him. I like the work. And Colton came over from, like, the ADA's office. Like, he came over from, like, working for the city as a lawyer. And now he's doing this. So he gets, like, a little bit more money, but he's not it. But I just think it was funny when all the assistants were kind of talking about the various places that they would go or not go. There's that one assistant who's like, yeah, come here. And all the others are like, yeah, why is there an open space here? Because your boss is a dick. Yeah. Nobody wants to work for him. And Pax, they're like, no, I'm good. I'm good where I am. I like where I am. Also, he's in love with his boss, but, you know.
But what we come to realize also is that Pax he was trafficked. He was put into, like, sex slavery. Like, it got really dark in a lot of it. He was held hostage by a mafia boss. And it got dark, like, really quickly, where we thought it was just, oh, here's a guy who has had some foster home trauma, and then they go to, like, a bar, and then all of a sudden we get this whole backstory about, like, human trafficking. And so because he had been so deeply traumatized, really the only person that he felt like he could trust was Colton. And he even says, like, my therapist says that I am codependent. And it's really unhealthy. But it's okay because he's also dependent on me. And I'm like, I don't think that's how codependency works.
Actually, now that you say that, as we were talking earlier about, like, this idea of, like, being taken care of, like, with Bull's Boy, or even, like, with Elijah and Pax and Rocket Science, it's like, you could see that as, like, I think people who don't like that dynamic, they don't like it because it does seem like a real codependency or like one of them, it becomes overly dependent on the other because of their power dynamic. And that was kind of interesting. Again, you're so right. How the fuck did I pick 2 workplace? I don't, who am I? Maybe
you are somebody who reads authors, not reads tropes. That's who you are.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you. That is who I am. Because I do really like Mary Combs's work. Like, she's got one of the only like Omegaverse books that I love. Muscle and Bone is the first book. Because what I think she writes really well is emotional tension. Like, I always kind of feel like y'all can't see this, but just imagine me with like little T-Rex arms, kind of like tiptoeing. Like, there's that kind of vibe to her stories. Like, even in the Raven series, which I read, which is like the Witch series that book 2 just came out or is about to come out. I can't remember. But it's got kind of that, like, we're all a little bit on eggshells normally. So when we get to not be on eggshells in a particular interpersonal situation, like, that's the relief. Because we're not doing, again, T-Rex arms, folks. Just imagine the T-Rex arms here. I just saw Jurassic Park Rebirth over the weekend, so T-Rex vibes. This is what's happening. So I do think that is nice in a way. It's like a little bit of a catharsis for the reader that I'm like, if you stop to think about Bax's backstory, you're like, this is bad. Like, this is real bad. And the book, because it's a novella, it doesn't give a lot. Yes, it gives space to his backstory, but it doesn't give space to how that backstory probably affects him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he talks about his backstory and he's like, oh yes, there's codependency, there's this, and this. But there's not as much space given to how that affects every single part of his life or how he grew past certain things, because there's just no real estate for it. It's like, this is what happened, this is what's now. We don't see a lot of that transition point.
One thing that I did see in the plot that I appreciated, because so much of it was backstory, and I was like, wow, this book is probably 40% backstory, which was unusual. But in the plot, there's a moment where they're all at this like fancy illegal party, and he sees a woman looking uncomfortable and she looks young, and he goes over and accidentally spills a drink on somebody else to get her away. And he's like, what's the problem? I saw your face. What's going on? And he just like pulls her out of it. And then it turns out that it's like a 17-year-old girl who's dressed a little bit provocatively and like being hit on by an older man. And
they don't realize she's a teenager.
Which is gross. But and they're like, well, I thought she was 23. And he's like, you're still 45. You're still 50. Stop it. But then that young girl's father comes over and she's like, what were you talking to my daughter about? And Paxton freezes up, starts to have a panic attack because there's still something about a man who is larger hovering over him that is still uncomfortable, and he recognizes the trigger. And then, you know, Colton arrives at the party and pulls him out of there. But you see that Colton is the only one that he has this level of comfort with. And we hear him at the very beginning saying, I'm recognizing that I'm gonna like be chased for the rest of my life because Colton's straight. So at some point I'm going to have to see him with a wife and get over it. And I'll have to, because I don't want to have him leave my life. But this is just, there's no one else who's like this with me. There's no one else, even like they're always touching each other. They're always holding his arm or pulling him along. And he's not trying to be gentle with him, which I think Pax appreciates. Is it's just like, this is how we engage with each other. Yeah. Yeah. Which again, I do like that. I think the theme that I'm kind of pulling from this week, accidental though it may be, is like this metaphorical thing of like a comforting hand on the back is, I think, in a lot of these. Yeah, like it is a little bit of that caretaking. There's a little bit of one of the characters, not necessarily is the caretaker is the daddy, even though that just shows up in a couple of these but there's this idea of there is someone who has either more knowledge or more experience in a certain situation and takes charge of the situation to help the other person, which I really like. I like that. That feels nice. Yeah. And I think in any relationship you need to have like a feeling like somebody has your back, whether or not they have that experience where they're going to advocate for you. They're going to stand up for you. They're going to be on your side. If it's between you and your family, they're going to choose you. And all of that showed up in each one of these. I'm a fan. Delightful. Anything else we'd like to say about my gay book club books for this week? I think we definitely learned a little about Nikki's psyche.
You're
Nikki wants
welcome.
a daddy who is at least 10 years older than her.
That'd be nice. That'd be real nice.
And he'll rub her feet.
Oh, no, I don't like that.
Feet. I don't want to. No?
I know. I was like, I don't like people touching my feet. I was like, you want to rub my shoulders? I'm into it. Or my hands. Because, surprise, I think I'm developing arthritis in my hands. Like my mom has it, my grandmother has it. I was playing pickleball with my parents last week, and I just looked at my mom like, Mom, what does arthritis feel like? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is what I'm currently feeling in my hands and my wrists. And this is what I've been feeling for the last couple of weeks. And she goes, yeah, that's arthritis. And I was like, fuck. So if somebody wants to massage my hands, that would be really nice. Thank you.
Okay. We'll put it in your Tinder profile.
Yeah.
Searching for hand massager.
Hand massager daddy, please.
Bring me dinner.
Oh my God, that would be so nice. Yes,
and watch K-pop anime
Hunters?
with me.
Yeah. Yes, watch my K-pop Demon Hunters and do karaoke with me. Thank you very much. Well, delightful. All right. Well, that is the end of our inaugural Nikki's Gay Book Club. Thank you so much. If you want to tell us what you're reading to join our Gay Book Club, head on over to Substack, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give us a rate, review, and subscribe. Let's go into what we're shipping this week. Meg, what you shipping?
Okay, so this week, because I just got back from a road trip, I am shipping the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio.
Is that where you went?
We drove from New York to Iowa, but Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is about 4 hours. So it was halfway through our first day. We decided to take a break. And my kids love it because they love rock music. But also my son, between the time that we went last August and now, has become a much better guitar player. So he's appreciating music more. He recognizes more of the bands that are there. They have a whole section on the second floor where you can just like pick up an instrument. So they have a bunch of guitars, basses. They have drum kits in a soundproof booth. They have some ukuleles. They have acoustics. They have keyboards. And then they have screens where you can like learn how to play songs. So my older son, who's been taking guitar lessons, learned how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit while we were right there at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I learned how to play While My Guitar Gently Weeps on the piano while we were there, which feels like kind of a ridiculous thing to learn to play on piano when it's about a guitar. But, you know. And they have an exhibit right now that is all Saturday Night Live music and rock and roll music. So we got to see like the Wayne's World original costumes,
that's fun.
the Dick in a Box costumes were there. And they had these amazing, like, here's what the different musicians wore, like all of their costumes from not necessarily sketches, but their performances. And what were some of those iconic performances. So after learning to play Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit, we went downstairs and we got to watch the performance of Nirvana doing Smells Like Teen Spirit on Saturday Night Live. So it all sort of fit together. So it was just this really cool interactive experience. The like top floor was all Bon Jovi, and I was like, I could skip this, but I mean, it was just a really, really cool experience. It probably is like a 1 or 2 hour thing, so it was a great like stop, do the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, get lunch, keep going for another 4 hours till we get to Indiana for our halfway for the trip. So that's what I'm shipping this week. Is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What about you, Nikki? What are you shipping?
This is another book I had suggested for this week, and it is Of Pranks and Passion, An Unexpected Love Story by Amy Padilla. This book was not at all what I thought it was going to be after reading the book blurb. Like, I was a little shocked. It was really good. It's about 400 pages, so it's actually quite lengthy too. Because I remember I felt like I'd been reading it forever, and I'm like, I wonder how far I am. I'm like, I'm 35% in. Like, this is hefty, but it's so good. It's like, I do really like Amy Padilla. I think I've talked about her on a previous episode with like the Shapeshifter's Secretary, like that workplace series. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I think you said that the cover surprised you because you were like,
it looked like
I didn't think I would like this.
Yeah. And then I've since gone on to read more by Amy Padilla, but this one was really good because it's like a little bit dark. Like, you have a character named Gary who is like the black sheep of his family for no reason other than the fact that his parents hate him. His older sister, she's like the golden child. And so they always go to him and say, give your money to your sister. Oh, you're barely making ends meet? Give money to your sister. And his sister is a horrible person who, like, literally, when he finally gets out of the home, because he's gotten scholarships and things to go to college to become an accountant, like, his sister literally sends people to assault him. Like, she goes to these guys and goes, oh, oh, you're from there? You should go to this college and find my brother. Don't worry if he fights back. That's what he's into. So she's literally sending people to assault him if he doesn't give her money. So, like, these are horrible people. but he meets Easton, and Easton comes from a very wealthy family. He was like a relationship that his dad had before his current marriage that he didn't know about. So when Easton's mom, I think, dies or goes to prison, she goes to prison. That's how he kind of gets back into his bio dad's life. And his bio dad and his half siblings and stepmom like try to like connect with him, but he hangs out with his friends who are all kind of like from the wrong side of the tracks. He's like an underground MMA fighter, even though he comes from all this money. And his dad at the beginning of the book kind of lays down the law and is like, you have to go to college. I don't care what you do. I need you to go to college. Just go. And he's like, fine, for fuck's sake, I'll go. And that's how he meets Gary, and eventually kind of sees what happens. He rescues Gary from being assaulted one day. And Gary's just this nice guy who gives him his notes in a class that he was late for. And he's like, why the fuck are you giving me his notes? Like, what do you want? Because he thinks that Gary knows him because of his famous and rich last name. So eventually Easton offers to be Gary's fake boyfriend just to protect him from all of these assaults and to protect him from his family. It's really
love
good.
that.
I would definitely recommend it. Because there is kind of a fake dating, but Easton is very much like he's a kind of like, don't touch him, he's mine, touch him and die kind of vibe. And a lot of people, his friends, think that East just must be like a romantic or something, because he's always said like, I have no interest in a relationship. I do one night stands. I fuck. It's great. But there's something about Gary being this tiny little person whose family is absolutely horrific. Like, how do you help him? How do you save him? How do you rescue him? And how does Easton's emotional arc kind of change throughout it? So like, I wouldn't call it heavy, but it's an emotional book, but it's so good. And I love the relationship between Gary and Easton, because there's these weird pranks. One of the tags for the book is pranks are his love languages, and it's the quiet ones you have to watch out for. And it has a great ending. I was very satisfied with the coming of uppance that Gary's family and sister receives at the end. So, of pranks and passion, an unexpected love story, Amy Padilla. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Go forth and read.
Shitty siblings and Nikki's recommendations this week.
I know. What is it about shitty siblings? Maybe I just like to see people get their comeuppance. Like, see how happy these people are now? You get none of it. I think that's why. I just like poetic justice. And real justice in the case of this book. Awesome. And that's all for us this week. A reminder, if you'd like to support the pod, head on over Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Substack. Rate, review, subscribe, do all those fun things. Follow us on social media. We are at First Dates and Soulmates on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you have a little bit of extra cash, you can head on over to our TeePublic store, grab some of our merch, including the very famous Tingles in the Groiny Bits. I have it as a laptop sticker. It's very delightful. Or for the price of a very nice pen from Barnes & Nobles every month, you too could support us financially over on Substack and all the work we put onto the show, and we would greatly appreciate that. We thank you very much for all of your support in whatever way you choose to give it. Coming up next week, we are talking about generational stories with author Eden Finley, as well as her upcoming release, The Office Bet. We shall see you next time. Bye-bye.